So growing up in Orange County, and even later in my married years, I always lived close to a public library. First in Anaheim, I lived blocks away from the Sunkist branch of the Anaheim Public Library System. And then in my early married days, we moved to a place called Yorba Linda, birthplace of Richard M. Nixon. And they had the Yorba Linda Public Library up the street from us that had a huge video selection, and they would charge you like $1 for a week or 2 week rental. Well, now we live up here in the Central Valley, and our closest library system, the closest library system is the Stanislaus County Library System. And there's an extensive list of libraries. They have free video rentals. So I found myself at the public library looking for something new to watch, and I picked up this 2020 directed film by Roger Michell. It's his last film before he passed a year later. He's a South African director. The Duke. This is considered his penultimate movie based off of Wikipedia. It is rated R, which I don't really think this movie should have been rated R. It could have had a much broader appeal if it would have had a PG rating, but they had to add some pointless profanity and graphic sex, which to me I felt was unnecessary. Again, this movie could have been a more family movie with inspirational messaging. Anyway, this is based on a true story. It's based off of an English gentleman by the name of... Where did I write it down? I can't see it now. Kempton Bunton. Excuse me, my allergies are killing me. This guy was played by Jim Broadbent. He did a fantastic job. And Helen Mirren plays the wife. She just transforms. It's so good. Basically, this guy was just a working man in England at the time, and I didn't know this, and I had to research it, and it's still in place. You have to pay a TV tax to have a TV set in England, and that also applies to streaming in the modern era. There's no way around it. It supports the BBC. It's like £156 a year. And this guy in 1961... he was like an amateur playwright, never got anything published, but he would send in scripts to the BBC and would always get rejected. And they drive around in England with vans scanning for signals for people that are not paying the tax and are still watching the boob tube without paying the tax. It's like super tyrannical, but whatever. They do it over there in England, so... that's what they do to... I guess the tax brings in over $1 billion a year to fund the BBC. And this guy wanted it to be free for what they call pensioners, elderly people that maybe couldn't afford it. So in 1961, it's alleged that he stole a Goya painting of the Duke of Wellington that England bought for their National Gallery of Art for £140,000 at the time. And he held it hostage, and his letters stated that he wanted that money to be donated to a pensioners fund so they could get their TV license for free. And it's just a very interesting story. It's a period film that takes place in 1961. I love vintage television sets. There's some really great content creators on YouTube. Guy named Jack Saunders, he has a YouTube channel called Television Forever. He's an amateur hobbyist. There's another guy in California, Shango66. He restores vintage televisions, makes videos of it. And then there's Banderson TV. If you're into vintage electronics, these are great channels where they talk about vintage TVs. And they got the TV set right in the time. So it's a fun movie, and you get to kind of see this guy fighting the man in his own way. Excuse me, it's almost on the verge of almond bloom season where I live, and I'm just dying. This movie it was released during the pandemic on streaming, but then it was released in theaters in the UK in 2022 and grossed $14 million at the box office. An incredibly rare, incredibly high Rotten Tomatoes score, and granted, it's worth it. It's 97% Rotten Tomatoes score on this film. IMDb doesn't know what they're talking about. They're 6.9 out of 10. And I am a 5 out of 5. Thank you, Public Library System, for offering a great newer film like this to discover, because I had no idea of the story. I had no idea there was such a thing as a TV tax in England. But if you want to check out the life of Jim, the life of this Kempton man, the Bunton guy, it's just a fun movie, and I won't give any spoilers. There's some heartfelt stuff in there. They call it a comedy, but I think it's a comedy drama. There is some more heartfelt stuff in there and some interesting moral lessons. He was a really righteous dude. So I loved it. I would recommend it. I like true life stories. I like well done period pieces, and I feel like this was very authentic to the era. So until next time, we'll tune in and we'll do another real life story. I got another one in the can, back-to-back real life stories. So hang tight, folks. We got another one coming up. We'll see you then, folks. Thanks for watching.